So fear precedes courage. Fear always precedes courage. If courage is required, there will be fear. If only that flash, that ripple, the muscles around our heart will compress. A spasm will move through our stomach. Sweat will prickle on our underarms. And then we speak, or we stand, or we act, or we sing. I know you have felt this, right? You felt that fear move through your body. Fear moves through us all. It moves through us in waves as individuated as the personal response to a pitch-dark night, and it moves through us in waves as interdependent as a national response to gun violence. And if we are able, if we are blessed, if we have not yet stilled the call of our conscience, courage follows, and we speak, or we stand, or we act. Fear can be our savior. It's just as necessary as courage. How's that? If not for fear, the great swamps would have swallowed our prehistoric ancestors. The lions and tigers and bears, oh my, would have destroyed our early kin. If not for fear, we would have walked into the first fires. Without fear coupled with reason, we might have jumped like lemmings off the cliffs, but we feared, and so we fled. Into caves, into the embrace of communities, into the spaces that might preserve us for another flight, another fight. Even the Vikings code. The Vikings, a people known for their being formidable warriors, their code allowed for retreat from a battle that one was sure to lose. The Buddhists say, and I have learned to embrace, do not struggle against your emotional, your affective, your bodily responses to your environment. Feel them, accept them, and only when you accept them can you move beyond them. Fear is not wrong.
That's right.
It is not failure. It is your appropriate response to danger. Perhaps you felt a twinge of fear this morning when you first walked into this sanctuary. I pray for a world when we don't. I pray for a world where no sanctuary will face desecration. Yes.
Yes.
Where mosques won't be plagued by vandals. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Where synagogues won't be scrawled with swastikas or threatened with bombs, where Sikh temples and churches won't be home to massacres, where the places that we call home, where we gather to meditate or pray to serve that which we understand as holy and ultimate, won't be broken by the evil whims of broken souls. Can you share an amen?
Amen.
How is it? How is it that we even need to say this? Where are our sanctuaries today? The places that are truly sanctuary, where are they today? It was not that many centuries ago when the Pope sent crusaders to desecrate the holy sites of whole civilizations. And what of the contemporary assaults of the so-called Islamic State? Our fear doesn't come from the fact that this sacrilege is new, but from its proximity. We thought we were safe. But is safety even a possibility now or ever? I felt a a twinge of fear when I walked through this space a few nights back. It gets really dark in here. Lions and tigers and bears dark in here. I had to make it from the narthex all the way to this door, and I put my arms out on either side, hoping that I would feel a chair and not a burning radiator. And as I moved through this space, I felt the fear grow in me. I kept wondering what would be in that darkness, and my eyes kept trailing to the center of the room. And I wondered, was it a boogeyman? Was it a lost and angry opossum? They do make it into sanctuaries on occasion. I've heard the story. Or was it a shooter? I was painting the fearful images of my mind into my experience. What kept me moving forward was the light that was emitting from this door. A beacon, somewhere that I was heading. That was where my courage alit. What kept me moving forward was a light. A dear soul, I'll call him Alan, a Unitarian Universalist, rose to a pulpit in one of our Unitarian Universalist sanctuaries. He was a veteran speaking of his experience in Vietnam, and Alan had been an artillery lieutenant charged with a platoon of soldiers, and Alan entered into the war with conflicted emotions, with fears, certainly with fears and with convictions. He could not say that he wanted to be there. How could anyone ever say that? But he chose one beacon, one light to focus on. He focused on the men that he had been placed as their leader to care for. He summoned his courage for his men. He summoned the courage to love them so much that he might save them. And he followed that light when in that war he was lost. Their light, the divine spark that he saw in their souls, it lit his path through the terror of Vietnam. Alan was not a champion of the totality of the war, but he was a champion of his men, and to love them, he fought for them. And for this, Alan was proud of his service in Vietnam. When Alan shared this with his Unitarian Universalist congregation, many recoiled. How could he speak to them of anything but pacifism? Did he not see the evil that he was perpetuating? I heard tale that when Alan began to date one of the single women in that same Unitarian Universalist congregation, some of her friends pulled her aside and said, "You can't date him. He supports the Vietnam War." Not true. Not really. Alan's truth was much more complex than that. Morality is more complex than that. No moral, no courageous choice is perfectly good or bad. The beacons that call us forward shine through legions of darkness. Before courage, there is fear. Before action, there is complexity. There is very, very rarely any certainty. And I'm feeling a bit of this fear now because I have to admit a preference of mine before I can explore the next piece of this sermon. I have to tell you what my favorite movie is. It's The Labyrinth. Yes, my favorite movie is a coming-of-age pseudo-feminist fantasy starring David Bowie as a goblin king. Anyone else out there willing to stand with me on this? Any other supporters in the... Keep those hands This is going to get worse for us before it gets better. But I need to speak now about my favorite scene. The heroes are on a quest to save a child that has been taken by that goblin king. They pass innumerable obstacles, proving their merit, but the most formidable is also the most comedic. They must pass through. Any of you Labyrinth supporters out there know? They must pass through
the bog of eternal stench.
The bog of eternal stench. To be in its presence is enervating. It hisses and bubbles and globs like a simmering pot of nasty pudding. To inhale is to let the sickness in, and even if one drop of the stuff touches your skin, you will carry its stink for the rest of your days. Our heroes do survive the ordeal, and they go on to save the innocent. The bog persists in their memories and their history. I can't forget it. Who can forget that? Rarely, if ever, is courage a clear path forward. We have to move through the bog, through the darkness, through a confounding stink of complexity before we speak or stand or act. How many times are we stilled by the enervating pull of complexity? Without a clear path forward, we stall in fear. Lo, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. We are the war-born, says our poet. We're in the midst of a war of sorts. You might call it a culture war. Or a war for our nation, a war for our nation's souls. If we are black or brown, Muslim or Mexican, gay, lesbian, or transgender, it is also a war for our bodies. We are struggling to move through the bog of fear that a culture clashing with its highest ideals proliferates. Where's the beacon worthy of our focus? Where is that light that will call us forward? A few days back, I saw that light. I saw that light as it came to this war that has been moving through our nation, as it came to Virginia. When Danica Rowan was elected to serve the people of Prince William County. Danica, the first openly transgender leader seated in a state legislature. How much fear did she have to move through to achieve that end? We knew her. Reverend Scott and I knew her. She played in a band that recorded on occasion at our home in Fairfax. You might not learn this in the news, so we'll give you the insight. She's actually a heavy metal singer. And she's really good.
Cab ride home.
Cab ride home. Find them online. So, I can't say, though, that I believe she would win. I can't say I had as much courage as Danica. I felt much more fear when she was considering her chances. Perhaps Danica had the most powerful courage yet, though. She had the courage to fail. How could she not think that that was a possibility? She had the courage to fail, and perhaps she succeeded because she was willing to lose. Perhaps her beacon was not success, but righteousness and necessity, the healing of America's soul. Danica has taught me about courage. And yes, we do hope to bring her here in the spring, not to sing heavy metal, but to tell you her story so her courage can instruct us all. So many soldiers, whether they are in culture wars or wars of the military, have walked through a bog, through the shadow, without that beacon strong enough to save their souls. As Reverend Scott said, 20 veterans die every day to suicide. The valley of the shadow swallows them. Just as I pray for a world where no sanctuary is desecrated, I pray for a world where no soul is desecrated by committing the acts of war. But we don't live in a world where these sorts of prayers have agency. I cannot, with my want, transform the world we live in. But I can, and we can, embrace those that have been broken by a broken world. We can love those who have had to choose lesser evils. I believe in those who are prepared to move through fear, to transform our world, and I will love them. Let us help them gird their courage to fail by focusing not on success, but on the light that calls us all forward. Remember, though, always remember how complex this is. And remember that fear always comes first. What if our boss is sexually harassing a coworker? Will we rise to speak the truth of our witness? Our job puts our children through college. But what do we risk of our children's souls if we remain silent? What if we hear, and this is my story, a grandmother speak the racism that is knit to her bones? What if that fear moves through us? How do I speak to my grandmother? What if I lose her? What else do I lose? And what do our children and our children's children lose if we don't speak? What beacon is worthy of loss or failure? What do we say to the children that bear witness to this world? As violence threatens sanctuaries, as wars persist, as hatred is spilled in speeches, what do we say to the children? Let me leave you with this. It does not matter. It does not matter, not really what we say. What matters is what we do. They are watching us. They know we are unsteady. They can feel our anxiety. They know we are disquieted. What will they remember? They will remember the courage we summon, not in spite of our fear, not in spite of it, but the courage we summon there, even amidst the bog of eternal stench. They will remember the beacon that we choose and the courage we summon to be more than the brokenness all around. Amen.